would have this down pat. And we're recording. And then I'm going to share. Now, I'm not going to, I'm going to push through this pretty quick because I know you guys are going to have loads of questions on your assessment task. But what we're having a look at tonight is, so last week we looked at the assessment task, and the week prior we looked at the unit of work. And then this week we're looking at one resource. And you're more like, you can use AI, and I wouldn't stress too much about this being too difficult to achieve. But I think because you're going to have the aid of AI here, you'll be able to get something done pretty quick. Now, one of the things I want to swap my screen sharing for a second, and I'm going to show you this great resource. Go back to Zoom. Oh, come on. And I'm going to show you this. I'll just get rid of that. Okay, so this is called DIFIT. Has anyone heard of this before? No? So DIFIT is fantastic because you can put in a topic that you're looking for. You can upload stuff from a textbook or content that you've already got. You could put in dot points from your syllabus. So here I'm going to look at joinery and assessment techniques. So I just put woodworking. It's made a suggestion. I want step-by-step visual guides. I'll just hit next, continue. I'm going to just do a basic joint. This is also really good. So it gives you all these prompts. One of the good things about this is you can add a video link. I've done it where I've got articles from woodworking magazines, and I've put the article through this, and it will create me a series of questions for the kids to do based on the article, like the magazine article that I've supplied. So it's absolutely fantastic, but it is American. So you do have to sort of read it a little bit. It gives you all this feedback. You can get it to do more things. It's come up with this image here. Yes, that is a butt joint. And that's pretty much all you need is what's materials here. So this is how quickly step-by-step assembling, squaring the ends is correct, applying glue, clamping for alignment, driving in the fasteners, 100%, prevent splitting, pre-drill. Why is it important? And it's got a check. So that was fantastic. That was really well done. There's really nothing wrong with any of those things that it's come up with. Critical thinking. So, and it's called DIFIT, and it's free. It does vocab sheets, and it will come up with like heaps more things that you can do based on the content. It'll do graphic organizers. So even if you, like, I know these ones are premium, but at least you can see what they've got there and maybe even mimic. Canva also has Canva education, which is really good. And also you can do questions. So it will do multiple choice questions for you as well. So you can um, so I can go woodworking, joint descriptions, and multiple choice quiz. So we can go with something else. Let's do exam review. Here, there's a final summative assessment there that could give you ideas. It's got ELL students there. Yeah, I just love this resource. I use it quite a bit. And I always tweak whatever it produces, but I usually upload all my own resources, all my own sources um, of materials. But yeah, see, there's a whole heap of, there's an exam quiz already done for you. So it is called, and it has all the answers as well. So that's DIFIT. So I think this will come in very handy for 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 your assessment task, hopefully. Yeah. And let's just get back to this. So that would be, I think, that Copilot, ChatGPT, they're all great for creating stuff. I just think DIFIT is very much educational based, so it comes up with a lot better information. Um, and it'll come up with a quiz, a task planner. And Canva does have really good stuff, and sign up for Canva Education, that's for free. There's a lot of pre-done resources. Generally, I will say it's not very primary school, but you can use their built-in AI mode to help you along to create things as well. So, talking about doing senior projects, now I know a number of you don't necessarily have senior projects in your subject area, but project-based learning is available throughout everything, even in mathematics. I know over the years we did kids doing phone plans, and we did a project-based assessment around phone plans. So there's a lot of strategies that you need to manage these kids. You can't kind of set them free for 6 weeks and think that they're going to produce an assignment. They tend to work in very short packets. So if you give them short deadlines and keep them on track. So last week I spoke about doing work in progress meetings. So what are called WIPs. You can have project timelines, Kanban boards, journaling, progress tracking, keep the parents up to date, particularly if you need somebody to maybe be spending a little extra time on their work at home. So these are really good ways of holding the kids accountable. So I know with my woodwork and multimedia, I make the kids go home, and after all their photos and screenshots that they've done during the lesson whilst making their projects, they have to upload them into their record of production for a folio, and they have to do that each night. And that way, a very big task that over the course of a year becomes a very easy one. Otherwise, they can sink very quickly. So you do get caught out where kids will say they're doing work and then it's just beyond them. If the whole project's designed to take 5 weeks, they can't do it in 1 or 2 evenings, and they do melt. Even at 17 and 18, they absolutely crumble, and it's heartbreaking. So this is a case of where you've got to be a good parent and be a little bit mean to be kind. So accountability is good. We have a think of a project management strategy, because this would form part of your unit plan, okay? If your summative assessment is going to be project-based, you'd want to have this as part of your teaching strategy. So think about a project management strategy that you could use with your year 12s, and then literally just outline how you're going to use it. And that's pretty much all you need to do when you write your activities into your program. So it's identifying what you're doing, and it's outlining it. So it's just sketching it in general terms. So, and then when you outline it, just make sure that, like, so what problem does this solve? So is it timekeeping the kids? Is it completing the next step, a critical step, or a particular section of maybe a bigger folio? So you could put that as part of your outline. This will give student time to complete timeline. I will demonstrate in class with a worked example, and allow students time to complete, to put in all their headings and to complete their proposed, and to keep students on track, or to give them a broader understanding of their project. So have a little bit of a thing as something that is part of whatever your assessment task is, and what part of your program that you've got, and just have a look through your unit and see where you can put that project management strategy, and just give it a little work over, and see if you can come up with a description. And then hopefully this can be embedded into your assessment. I'll just give you a minute to go through your unit and do that. And I'm just going to answer something in the chat. So have you been able to, anyone been able to identify where they can place one of those strategies, or a project management strategy? Oh,
With my year 12s, we had, for their first assessment task, they had to come up with a plan as to how they were going to sort of tackle their major project for textiles. And it was basically just break it down as to what needed to be done and when it needed to be done by. And then
yep.
each week I make sure that I sit down with each one of them individually during our prac
Yep.
throughout the week. So I might not catch up with them all on one day, but I make sure that I sit down with them and just check in how they're going, how's it matching up with your plan.
So essentially, you're doing a project timeline
Yeah.
and then you're doing progress tracking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, perfect. Excellent. So yeah, and that doesn't take a lot to sort of explain in a program either. Like you can be done quite simply. Oh, no, that's excellent. Okay, so because I want to keep a lot of time to answer any curly questions, I'm going to push through this content. So, examinations and exam literacy. Now, this is, I have spoken to you guys about this before. I've done HSC exam committee in New South Wales, and it is one of the best learning curves I ever went on in my entire life. And it's writing HSC style questions, and each state has something similar in place. Someone's got to write the exams. And what changed in me, having been on that side of it and I hadn't known anyone who had done it before, was the way I taught significantly changed afterwards. So, really leaning into these cognitive verbs and making sure that they're certainly functional. It's understanding how they apply and how to unpack them and how to scaffold a response related to whatever verb is used in the question. And then teaching the kids how, by scaffolding, you're giving them that formal writing expectation. Kids will be very flippant with what they say and how they say it. And it's really important that they do use critical terminology to the subject specific knowledge and to demonstrate their depth of knowledge, and also to use what are called linking words. So if I need to explain something, I need to have present cause and effect. So I need to make sure that I'm making a statement because, as a result, and it leads to. So using those linking statements associated with different verbs is also really important. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is something that I pulled off your module, but I'm just going to point out there's been a couple of little changes in New South Wales. So doing how do you highlight this and stress the importance is as early as the beginning of year 11, start unpacking HSC style questions with your kids. I do this with my year sevens. I unpack every assignment I have from year 7 right through. So I'm hoping that kids that I encounter in later years can remember this and are putting it into practice early. So it's second nature by the time they get to year 11 and 12. But unpacking these questions is super important. And you're going to see there is this heavy reliance on identify, describe, on those verbs. But you are starting to see what, why, where, how, and they are directly related to verbs. So what would be like identify or describe, and then you got how would be more explain. So you will see them turning up in the last couple of years, but still there is this heavy reliance on these verbs. Making sure kids realize there is two of something, one of something, three of something, and there's a direct relationship between the verb and the mark. Okay, so usually if it's identify one, which is naming, would be 1 mark, 2 is 2 marks, because there's pretty much a two-worded answer. Outline would be starting at 2, and then you start going up into describe, which is 3, so characteristics and features. They also must look for this second part, so this can aid. So the content being covered in part B here is evaluation, aiding design of a product. So there's 2 concepts. So where we're trying to get the kids to understand those, like we might explicitly as content or a content dot point, evaluation might be how to evaluate, design could be one, and design of a product is another content point. If they understand them separately, all we're assessing is their understanding to link those 2 concepts together. So the assessment, this goes back to the discussion we're having right at the beginning, is you got to describe the aiding. So what does it look like? So by, comparing to having set criteria means that you're looking for particular features highlighted in a product. So there's all those things. Now, marking criteria come with all the past papers. And what happens here is that students are rewarded for what they provide. So you get a sample answer. So here it tests ideas before it gets into production. And it can be achieved. So that achieving this will then. So there's all those linking terminologies. If kids just make a really short statement, they'll still get a mark. So if they had said evaluation allows designers to test ideas prior to being put into full production, that would have been 1 mark. 2 marks would have been this can then be achieved by designers developing a prototype to see if the design works. That would be 2 marks. What is taking them to the 3 mark? This will then provide the opportunity for further modification. So that then takes them up into that next bracket. So it's really important that they see exemplars of this in their subject area, and every exam is available online, past exam papers. There's also feedback from the Marking Centre. So what students, like typical students, might be doing well and what they're doing poorly. So it gives you an idea that if the bulk of the state is doing a small thing very poorly, then you could probably rest assured that your kids are probably in there somewhere that they might be part of that. So maybe spend a little extra time covering a little bit of content or covering a little bit of methodology and how they're responding to questions, because kids aren't encountering exams like they used to, but certainly it's very high risk at the end of year 12 for them in their final year at school. So it's very important to really build this into your lessons and getting them practicing. So if we just have a quick look at this question here, so I'm not going to make you do a whole go looking for your subject, but if we've got, here seems a pretty mundane question. Evaluate the quality of the sanding on your project by explaining the process you used. So there's 2 issues with this question. Can anyone tell me, well, there's one glaring issue that this would never be a HSC question. So could anyone tell me what's the first thing that would need to change? You don't even need to know about sanding or
Is it the your
woodwork yet.
project bit?
Yeah, actually it's not, but yes, you're right. That wasn't what I was looking for, but yes, we don't refer to your project. We give a very specific example. So that's one. Yeah. Anything else? Think like a 17-year-old, think about most students, think of the language skills, cognitive abilities. My hint is this one question? Anyone?
Sorry, I'm still stuck on the your project.
it, it's two questions. So you wouldn't have evaluate the quality of the sanding on your project by explaining the process. It would be explain the process of sanding on a project. And you would say, you would state the quality, explain the process of sanding on a high quality project. So you wouldn't be having two verbs going on. So you're not having them evaluate and explain. So it's only ever one verb. So we don't give two-part questions. If there are two-part questions, it's A and B. So it'll be answer A and then it'll be answering B. So you either evaluate maybe the process of like what could you evaluate? How do you evaluate a high quality finish, or do you explain the process? So it's too much going on, and no student would actually answer every element of that question. And yeah, we always do generic. We don't ever get the kids to talk about their own work. They're given very specific situations. Plus, also, we can't examine the project twice. So the kids have their projects marked externally of the school that they make, and that's one external examination. And then the HSC exam is their theoretical content. So we keep that separated. The other thing is, like, this question in terms of an examination paper would be sitting somewhere in the middle. So if I wanted kids explaining things, I'd be looking at 4 to 5 marks. So I'd be looking for those longer responses, but I would have warmed them up a little bit. I probably would have asked, can you outline, like maybe an identify, an outline, a describe, and then into an evaluation. So it would have been sort of above, past middle of an exam paper. And that's why we've got to look at what we're targeting with Bloom's. So because we want to increase from lower to higher order thinking. So remember, I talked about the other week was taking all the kids to the middle and then start separating them for the rest of the exam. So with our industrial technology, they have 10 multiple choice questions, and the bulk of those questions the kids should be able to respond to. And then there's 2 corkers in the 10 questions to try and get the kids to separate out. So a lot of people go, oh, our kids didn't do, like, they didn't get 10 out of 10. Like, the questions were too hard and it was just a multiple choice. It's like, that's separated just as much as the rest of the paper. And then it goes straight into outline, process, or identify a tool. And then it goes into describing something. And a marking guide here for explaining would be sketches in general. Like, you'd have some relevant information as your first mark. You'd have sketches in general terms. You would then have characteristics and features. And so basically you're stepping each verb up until they hit that explaining. Most industrial tech kids are describers. They can't get past describing. That they really struggle with that. So to really get through into those higher mark ranges, you've got to teach your kids to evaluate and explain. And a little bit of analysis as well. So if you can teach your kids to analyze, they'll do really, really well. So looking at criterias and standards. So when you've got for a major work, your online module says that it's broad, judgment based, and skill focused. And to a large extent, it is. But I can assure you that as much as possible, there is no subjective element brought into the practical marking project. And we're very much ask the markers and train the markers to read the verbs and to read the descriptors very, very carefully and to apply them. So it's one of ours is talking about for industrial tech, there is a criteria and it has appropriateness. Now, how do you judge if something's appropriate? And what I tell my markers is you need to, what's appropriate is the kid explained to you and they justified their use of a tool, process, or a timing that they had to do something, order of what they did. If they can justify it, then it's appropriate. And if it achieved a successful outcome. If you don't achieve a successful outcome, well, then that's when it's inappropriate. If they've applied the incorrect process and had a fault as a result of it. And then that way you're not making a judgment based on your own personal opinion, like I wouldn't have done it that way. It doesn't matter as long as the kid can justify why they did it. So it's a pass or fail thing if you strip out any of that subjective thinking. And it's really hard to check your bias. And it's something you've got to do all the time. But it's super important that you do. It's also different from exam criteria. It's a little bit higher order thinking, and it also requires the kids to have good writing skills in folios or evidence. I think with textiles, you guys do journals. Do you do a journal, Natasha?
They've got their portfolio.
But it's really tiny, isn't it?
I think it's 12 pages A3.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite small. Ours is
Yeah.
40 pages A3.
Yeah,
So
we have like an exercise book where they write down what they've been doing each week so that they can keep track of it. And that helps when they have to do their I can't even think of what it's called now. The
is
session
it a
where they've got
process? I thought it was a process diary.
sorry?
I thought it was called a process diary.
For the
No?
portfolio.
Yeah.
We've
That
always
might
called
be
it
the old,
maybe.
might be the old version.
Yeah, so
But so
they've got the portfolio and then the actual major work that they made.
yeah. And obviously I'd say annotating would be of great benefit for because you guys would have a lot more visuals.
Yeah, so they've got to have they've got to draw the pictures of what their design ideas are and their final design, and that's all got to be annotated. And then they have to do the design, not the design, the technical drawing. Sorry,
Yeah.
my
Yeah,
brain's
yeah, yeah.
working.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so
Cool.
some of
So
them find that easier than others.
yeah. Yeah. I hear you. So so also what is listed in your module is that kids find it really hard to interpret exemplary, critical, some. So people, we find this with the markers. They're like, well, what's a range of skills? And you can't quantify it with a number. You just need to have, you will see projects that don't use very many skills. they're quite limited. Or they'll use one skill and they will use it to death to create their entire project. So what you're trying to see is that a student has got a number of skills based on your syllabus that is going to show that they can do many things. So our pieces of furniture for us, you have a carcass, you have legs, you have frames, you have doors, you have drawers. So even if they did one skill in each of those things, there's a range right there. So a wide range would be if they did multiple skills in each of those areas. So it's the same thing with any topic. It's governed by the syllabus. I know with woodwork, there started to be some crazy expectations, and I challenged the markers on what the most difficult skill was in our syllabus, and it was a dovetail in a drawer, which is done by a machine and a jig. And they're hard to line up, but they aren't the most difficult thing. So it's keeping in mind these are 17-year-olds. Where does this, we can't expect to examine the kids on stuff that isn't part of the content in the syllabus. So going through skills inside a syllabus and looking at where it taps out and what the most difficult thing is in there, you can't expect more than that. I explicitly get my kids to put a skills table in their folios and tell the markers and use the word in the syllabus, because I know there is that creep that comes in that there's a higher expectation. So you get like a halo effect. So you can walk in and everything starts looking amazing, or amazing projects don't look so great because someone is off the chart. So you've got to keep that balanced. Like our project gets marked out as 60, and we only ever give the markers what we call a just 60, like it only just got the 60, because if we keep showing them 50 pluses, then they're going to start handing out, if we start showing them 80 pluses, they're going to apply that standard to a 60 out of 60 project. So there are some extraordinary kids out there, but you'll have kids that will also find it very difficult to trying to hit that full mark at the same time. And explicitly teach this, like be straightforward, get the kids to mark their own projects, get the kids to mark other people's projects, past projects. I find when I teach the kids how to mark, like a HSC marker, they actually produce better work. They're very clever and they catch on pretty quick. So it's worthwhile giving it a go. I'm just gonna skip this and move on to the next section. So you've got expectations and assessment. So you've got your timelines, required materials, learning behaviours and habits that you've put in with the kids. And you need to give the kids exemplars and aspirational resources. So SHAPE is a presentation that is held at UTS. In the city, it is Textiles, Design and Technology and Industrial Technology. It's coming up in March. If you guys want to come along, if you want to come to the Industrial Tech, I'll be speaking at it. Come say hello. And these are selected from kids who got full marks and who just did an extraordinary job. And that you can I take my students and they get to see what other people are doing. They get to see what the folios look like. They get to go through them. They get to speak with markers who mark projects. They get to speak to kids from other schools and listen to what they're making in their schools and bump into other teachers along the way, because all the teachers talk to all the other kids from other schools there, which is fantastic. And you're given links to everything that you can take back to your school and a workbook that you can work through activities with your kids. So it's just normalizing the expectations. I think when you teach in your own bubble and you don't expose the kids or yourself to everything outside, then it gets all very confusing and you don't really have a reference point to talk to. So it's absolutely fantastic to get in on it. And you can look up past shape exhibitions. There's all you got to do is put in like shape 2010, shape 2011, shape 2019, shape 2020, and all the information will come up online. It used to be hosted by the Powerhouse. They had some great videos of kids talking about their projects. And I found that was really good for my kids, listening to other students. They really liked that. So that's certainly worthwhile. So when we're looking at tech projects, they're applied. There's loads of application, demonstration, and basically everything else is all their theory should be supporting their practical abilities. And then when they get examined, they can then recall what they learnt about, what they did. They can then put back down on paper if we teach them to write. Same with the textiles guys as well. They've got to learn that theory to understand how to do something. They've got to then execute it, and then they've got to go sit an exam, and they can use those two experiences to then sit that exam. Make sure you understand what's going on in your state. Go through those past papers, have a look if there any PD online on HSC marking and how that's done. I know NESA has NESA Learning, and they do have how design and technology and how industrial technology is marked. It takes you through the marking process. Make sure you've got really strong structures for supporting progress. That's really important. Accountability, built-in accountability over the duration, and understanding the criteria. So hand it out to them on day one, hand them the syllabus. I do a printed copy of the syllabus, printed copy of the marking criteria. They need a highlighter pen. They go through and highlight the syllabus of everything that they're doing on their personal project. I teach them how to mark, so they have to read their own statement of intent, go to the statement of intent section in the marking criteria, and then work their way up through those guidelines until they can't take it any further. Even now, they can, with AI, they can take the criteria, they can take their statement of intent, drop it in, and go, does this meet this standard? And Copilot in particular will say, no, it's a great description, but if you want it to be more comprehensive to reach this standard, you need to do X, Y, and Z. So then the kids then enact on that feedback rather than never receiving feedback or waiting for you. So they can help themselves. And then the more we talk about that language, particularly based around their major projects, because we know they're all about the hands-on. And for some reason, they think a band 6, which in New South Wales is like the highest band, they think that comes from their practical stuff. They don't put it all together, that it's all the written assessments they hand in at school. It's the external exam paper as well as their major project that gives them a band 6. So they can get full marks on their major project, still get a band 3 because they didn't answer any of the questions in the exam. So the more you link those verbs to the practical application, the better they're going to start presenting their words in theoretical components, particularly if you're structuring things like industry studies or written assessments within the school. And like formal writing, like a little example, like I see a lot of sketches when you're marking written papers. I remember I had a kid once in my class, they did a half yearly, and one of the questions was about why you shouldn't be trusting web pages. And it was worded better than that. But the kid's response was, because they're often full of shit. And it's like, I had to write on the paper, yes, although this is true, this isn't necessarily how you should be wording it. Like, so you'll be quite shocked at how, apologize for swearing, but you would be quite shocked at how informal kids actually do respond in exams. And they also like to have a whinge about their teachers occasionally as well. Like, we've had 3 teachers this year, we haven't done this content. So it's or they, write things like, I don't know. So it's good. And the more you teach it to them, the more you can teach them how to fake it till they make it. And making sure you've got inclusive strategies to help all learners access senior expectations. I modify, I scaffold, I color code, I do whatever I possibly can to lift what they refer to it as lifting the tail. So, and I have to say, I like one of my proudest HSC results was a band 3. So out of 6, this kid got in the middle, band 3. And what schools look for are band 5s and 6s. That's all they're interested in. The kid that got the band 3 was deemed life skills in every single subject he did at the school, except for industrial tech. His family wanted him to do one subject on the HSC. Now, to be considered life skills, that student, the expectation for that student is that they would struggle to hit a band 1. So for that student to have got a band 3 for all the written assessments and external HSC result is quite extraordinary. And I absolutely am so proud of that young man and the work he put in. But I did a lot of preparation and a lot of modifications and a lot of scaffolding for him over the course of 2 years. So it's a team effort, but for him to have achieved that, he needed that support. I've also got kids who quite often they might be band 3s in all their subjects, band 4s in all their subjects, and then industrial tech, they'll be like a band 6. So our kids can write, in tech subjects, they can have higher order thinking, but you've got to put in the groundwork, and it's all language. And once you unlock that language for them, it can spill out across all their subjects. So super important. So hopefully I've done this super fast to open up heaps of time for you to stress about your assignments. Hopefully that helps you with your assessment, your summative assessment part of your project, and hopefully DIFIT would be really good for creating your generative AI sort of resource. Yeah. So if you guys want to sort of like get your assignments out and start going through them, and then I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I might just go and finish working on my assignment, and if I have any questions that pop up while I'm doing it, I'll pop back in.
Excellent. Cool. And give it DIFIT. Sign up for DIFIT.
I've actually got a paid access through a school. So
Oh, brilliant. Excellent. Yeah. Oh, well, that's easy for you. Any other questions from anyone?
Yeah, ma'am. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry. Okay, so my question is, just
Yeah.
want to get a complete idea. So my major is digital enterprise. And what do you have like in this assessment? We have to do three part, isn't it?
Yes.
Part one, part two, part three, and
Mm-hmm.
in which we have to like divide in. So in part one, we have to do 1 to 6 week,
Yep.
in which we do, what do you say, the planning of what we're
Yep.
gonna teach, how we're gonna teach, like the way of teaching.
Yep.
And in part B, um,
Yep.
is it for examination?
No, a resource.
Sorry,
A resource.
resources.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna
Can you show
go
me
back.
if this okay for you?
Yeah. There's a slide there. So one resource.
Yeah,
And
one resource
then
from.
and then part 3 is an assessment task.
Okay, so in which, so what kind of assessment task we?
A summative assessment task.
Sorry.
A summative assessment task. So you've got to allocate marks to it.
Okay, yeah. So we're gonna make it like a rubric, like one
Yeah.
which we usually have, which in the unit outline. So we will
Yep.
do of that thing.
Yeah. So if you're doing enterprise computing, you might give the kids a series of challenges and then they have to hand that up over, like you might have given them a series of challenges or a portfolio over the course of the unit. You might just do an exam. You might write an exam um, and assess them, as long as it's got a marking rubric, marking criteria.
And can you tell by any chance like what topic should be fine for me? Is I have done the enterprise one.
Computing, oh,
Yeah.
look, you would have to choose that. It'd have to be something you're familiar with.
So we're gonna do is like create a website or kind of thing, or what do you think? Like, does that work
Yeah,
or not?
is that in the syllabus? Web
Mm,
development?
not sure. Let's check. Just a sec.
It's all right. I'm just going to have a look through it. So content. So why isn't a content coming up? It's not working. You have interactive media and user experience in year
Interactive.
11. Interactive media and user experience is a topic. So you might want to just take some of the content from that, not all of it. And I'll download it. Oh, what's going on? Oh, here we go. So ubiquity, capture, store and integrate data, create interactive media systems. You could do that in 6 weeks. So create
Okay.
interactive media systems, and it's got 4 dot points in content. It's got apply design thinking to develop a front-end web-based interactive media system incorporating UX and UI principles. So that could be a web page, that could be, I don't know if you've got access to Adobe, but you can do UX design and where they do like app design, but they don't make the app.
And we have to, yeah, I got that.
And then, yeah, so you've got select appropriate project management approach. And then you've got to apply features of user interactions. So yeah, I reckon that would be a great 6-week unit.
And one which you have provided work example mid-range credit level. So we have to do it. We have to do this report like that, or is it the one which you have provided in what do you say task two at the bottom?
Yes. Yeah, look, it's just an idea of how it's laid out. So your content would need to go into a little bit more depth. There's just a few key elements missing in that, but it's overall the structure of it is good.
Okay. By any chance you got one other example of a previous year student?
No, I don't. Sorry.
Okay, yeah,
You
no
could
worries.
you could contact Dave Ellis. He might be able to provide another example.
Yeah, I got you.
But
Okay.
don't question yourself. Like those 4 dot points, that little interactive media, right? So you already said, like when I said to you what content you're comfortable with, you instantly went, oh, web. So you're already there, right?
Yeah.
Then just go, I've got 6 weeks. It's 4 times 6 hours or 50 minutes. And then you just break it up on how you would sort of just pull it
So it's
apart a little bit more, what you would
in the
do.
6 weeks, like we start from HTML and all this like way, and at the end we just wrap up and show
Yeah, well,
how to web page.
yeah, and it just needs to be you might turn around and have a simple 2 or 3 pages. You'll teach them how to do, I would probably go for that. You've got to teach them about hierarchy charts and then page designs, like drawing up page designs and how to map their interactivity in the hierarchy, and then get them to start building the pages, teach them some basic coding, how to insert an image, how to, do their header and footer tags. Give them a tag list, say that you'd give them a list, like a tag library, teach them about code libraries, but I think there's a little bit more about user
Yeah.
interfaces there.
So in 6 weeks, I just explain how to do this procedure, and then when in the
Yeah,
assessment we will give them like you have to create this kind of web page of a medical system or something like that. That's what.
yeah.
And do we need any user interface screenshot or anything in this report, or
No, no.
it's just
You don't
it's
have
just
to
like
produce the work. Yeah.
okay, got you. So it's just like a
It- it-
paperwork. How we gonna give the like the same like unit outline, which you will just how it
Yeah.
will work, then what it will give you.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah. That's
Okay,
all it is.
thanks, ma'am.
I think that's why people are questioning themselves. They're like, it's too simple.
Yeah, got you. Yeah, because it's a little bit confusing, but yeah, no, it's fine. No
Yeah.
worries. Thank you.
You'll get to the end and you'll understand it.
Yeah, got you, ma'am. Thank you. Bye.
Excellent. You're welcome. Does anyone else have any questions? Anyone else?
All clear for me.
Oh, fantastic, Hanel. So a few of us spoke at length last week, so hopefully that helped clear things up to move forward in the week that's just gone. So yeah, I know I rushed through tonight's content, but it's we did a fair bit on it on the assessment last week as well. But I think you I think getting exposed to Diffit and having a look at Canva and that is going to be really helpful. And hopefully you can piece it all together. I think you've got one more week to finalise your assessment. So Desi, you all good? So if you guys want to go work on your assignments or finish up for this evening, I'm fine with that. And I'll just hang around in case anyone does have any questions. But thank you so much. It has been absolutely lovely getting to know you guys, and a little bit sad it's our last week, but I look forward to seeing some of the assignments. So thank you. Thanks, Michelle.
Ajit, I've sent those files through. Anyone still here do any of you need any of the tutorial slides?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, I'm going to leave it here and I wish you all the best. I think you guys will do a stellar job. Stop second guessing yourselves. Write and just put everything in your head down. Worry about cleaning it up after it's on paper. And I will check in on my emails this week and I'll be quite vigilant about that. And I wish you all the very best with your future endeavors and never hesitate to reach out for any reason. So, and if you come to Sydney, even just say hi. So, thank you guys. I'm signing off now. Bye.
Hey.